Now, how much gold should you own? 5%, 10%, 20%? Should you put half your money into gold? Or should you put none at all? So, if you've been researching precious metals, you've probably heard people throw around all kinds of percentages. But today, I'm going to give you an answer that might surprise you. There is no magic number. Welcome to day 10 of 30 Days of Gold and Silver. And today, we're talking about how to think about gold allocation without hype, fear, or a one size fits all financial advice. So, yesterday, we talked about why silver isn't simply cheap gold. We learned that gold and silver can have very different supply and demand dynamics. And today, we're moving into one of the most practical questions of the entire series. Now, if someone believes gold deserves a place in their financial strategy, um, you got to ask this question: how much do they actually own? And before we go any further, I want to be clear: I am not your financial advisor, and I'm not going to give you a personal allocation recommendation. What I can do is teach you some questions worth considering. So imagine your entire financial life as a pie, and that pie might contain, cash, stocks, retirement accounts, real estate, a business, bond or other investments, gold, silver, and perhaps other assets. And gold isn't the entire pie. It's potentially one slice of the pie. And how large that slice should be depends upon what the rest of your pie looks like, right? So before asking how much gold you should own, understand what else that you already own already. So before talking percentages, ask yourself why? Why am I interested in gold? Is it because you want diversification? Is it because you're concerned about inflation? Do you want exposure to a tangible asset? Are you interested in long-term wealth preservation? Are you going to speculate on the price? Those are very different motivations, and why it really matters what your why is, because your objective should influence your strategy. So here's something I think gets overlooked in some precious metals conversations. Um, you still need cash. Gold doesn't pay your electric bill directly. You need liquidity for rent or mortgage, groceries. You need it for insurance, emergencies, unexpected repairs, daily life. That's why someone shouldn't hear a video about inflation and suddenly decide cash is terrible. I'm putting everything into gold. And that's not what I'm teaching. Cash and gold are really kind of similar, but they do serve different purposes. So your emergency money shouldn't automatically become your investment money. Now, remember what we've discussed over the last few days: gold versus stocks, gold versus real estate, gold versus Bitcoin. And I kept coming back to one word: diversification. So if you put virtually everything you have into one asset, that asset performs poorly, your entire financial picture can suffer. And that applies to gold, stocks, crypto, real estate, a single company, even your own business. Diversification doesn't eliminate risk, but it can help prevent your financial future from depending entirely upon one outcome. So you'll hear different investors and professionals discuss allocations such as 5%, 10%, sometimes higher. But those numbers are examples, not universal rules. Why? Imagine two people. Person A has substantial retirement savings, multiple investments, emergency reserves, real estate, and a long investment horizon. Person B has credit card debt, almost no emergency savings, unstable income, and very little invested. Now, would it make sense to automatically give those two people exactly the same gold allocation? Probably not. And context matters here. So instead of asking, Billy, what percentage should I put into gold? I'd rather you ask questions like, what are my financial goals? Do I have adequate emergency savings? How diversified am I already? What's my time horizon? How much volatility can I tolerate? My debts and what debts and obligations do I have? How liquid do I need my assets to be? Why do I want gold in the first place? So those questions lead to better financial decisions than simply copying somebody else's percentages, right? So there's another misconception I want to address. And some people think that if I can't afford an ounce of gold, there's no point to getting started. And I have to say that is not necessarily true. There are different ways to gain exposure to gold, and there are platforms that really allow fractional purchases of physical precious metals like gold and silver. And that's one reason I became interested in the platform that I use. The concept of really starting small and then learning as you go can make precious metal ownership more approachable. But again, accessibility doesn't mean suitability. So just because you can buy something doesn't automatically mean that you should. As I'm always stressing here, as I have been stressing, education first. So my thinking around wealth has changed over time. I'm less interested in asking what's the hottest investment and more interested in asking how do all the pieces of my financial life work together? Income, business, cash flow, investments, assets, gold and silver, long-term planning, legacy. That's the bigger picture. I don't want one financial decision carrying the weight of my entire future. I want I want a financial ecosystem. We'll call it that, right? So here's today's principle. And I want to give it, you can write this down too if you'd like. Allocation should follow education. So don't decide how much of something to own until you understand what you're buying. And don't underestimate an allocation because somebody on social media, like Billy B. Joseph III, president and CEO of Stone Ventures LLC, told you to. This is going to the moon. But build your strategy around your financial goals, not somebody else's excitement. So let's recap this. Number one, there is no universally correct percentage of gold for everyone. Number two, think about gold as one potential piece of your overall financial picture. Number three, don't ignore liquidity and diversification. And number five, your goals, time horizon, financial situation, and risk tolerance matter. And most importantly, don't copy someone else's portfolio. Build an informed strategy for your financial life. Now, I want to hear from you. Forget percentages for a moment. And what would be your primary reason for owning gold? Would it be diversification? Would it be long-term wealth preservation? Would it be owning a tangible asset, learning about precious metals, or something else? Put A, B, C, D, or E in the comments and tell me why. And if you'd like to learn more about physical gold and silver and explore the platform that I personally use, you can visit the link in the description. Description. You don't have to start big. You don't have to rush. You can learn how it works. You can read the information. You can ask questions. You can understand the costs, and then determine what's appropriate for you. And like I always say, if you are enjoying 30 Days of Gold and Silver, hit like, subscribe, and share this series with someone who's beginning their financial education. Because tomorrow, we're answering another question on day 11. And we're discussing physical gold versus paper gold. Now, when someone says, I own gold, what do they actually own? A gold bar, a fund, a mining stock, a claim on gold? So we're going to break down the differences tomorrow. So I'll see you in day number 11. And in closing, I want to say that don't build your financial future around somebody else's percentage. Build it around education, purpose, diversification, and a strategy that you understand. Guys, that has been day number 10. Again, this is Billy B. Josie III, President and CEO of Stoneleaf Ventures, LLC, where we help everyday people create generational wealth and legacy through gold and silver and digital marketing. God bless you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.